I work beside a dietitian called Sunita. So I don't know if you know Sunita Williams. So Sunita Williams is the South Asian dietitian for Glasgow. So she's done lots of studies in and around the UK. And what's happened is I sat down and had a really good chat with her, and so she explained to me the epidemic for the South Asian population. So I was actually quite shocked when she told me the statistics the other day. So what she told me was there's just been a large biobank. So what they've done is they've taken all the data in the UK and in other parts of the world for the South Asian population. So you know where that is. That's India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan. So that's where people's genetic roots come from. And what they found is that the prevalence of diabetes in the South Asian population is for white Caucasian population, if they have a BMI of 30, for the South Asian population they have the same health risks of those people that are overweight and obese at a BMI of 30 at a BMI of 22 for South Asian. Now that is really, really small. So if your BMI is over 22, you're at a much greater risk of diabetes. Who are the kind of World Health Organization? So they look at the. Can you just explain what BMI is? Yes. Yeah. Sorry. So what BMI is? So what they do is it's just a measurement of height against weight. So what they do is they take your height, they multiply it by itself, and then they divide it into your weight. So it is a good tool. It is a really good tool because what it does is it gives out a number. So it tends to be if you're under 18, you're underweight. If you're between 21 and 25, you are it's a healthy weight. But in actual fact, it's actually for the South Asian population, it's much lighter. So you're looking at having a BMI between 18 and 22. So what we're going to do is when we do the measurements, we're going to take your BMI so you get a bit of an idea of population. Diabetes risk in South Asians is up to 5 times higher and starts 10 years earlier. So for the white population, they would maybe develop diabetes 10 years later. And you'll know grandparents, parents, brothers, sisters that all have diabetes. So it's the biggest epidemic risk for your population. So this is why this is really important, because we need to get you moving, we need to get you exercising, and we need to look at what we're actually taking into our diet. The other thing is heart attacks are 50% more likely to happen, and again 10 years earlier from Caucasian populations, so white populations. So this is why this is really, really important to get you moving. Yes from the back. Do you want to keep the questions to the end?
All right. It was just relevant to that point.
Yes.
I might forget it. You said heart attacks, is that for male or female? There's a difference in heart attack rates for male and female, is that right?
Yes. So as women, we are protected because we have estrogen. So estrogen is a natural protector for heart disease. As we age, as we head towards the menopause, that risk is it's the same, exact same. So you have hormones that are protecting you, but as we age, it is what you've got in front of you. So this is really the Eat Well guide. So this is what the UK population, this is how they advise you to eat. So they advise you to have 5 to 8 portions of fruits and vegetables a day. Now, I would always go for vegetables over fruit, because we all like fruit because it tastes nice and it's lovely and sweet. But in actual fact, you get much more benefit from having more vegetables than you do having fruit, because especially with the risk of diabetes, high fruit intakes, large amounts of fruit intakes at one time will have the same effect as large amounts of sugar. So a banana, an apple, a tangerine, a piece of melon, all spread out the day will be fine. But if you bulk it all together and have a massive fruit salad or have a massive smoothie, it will have a bigger effect on your blood sugars. So fruit's good, but I want you to think more vegetables than fruit. And a colour, a rainbow colour. So we're wanting purple, purples, we're wanting greens, we're wanting orange, we're wanting reds, because all those colours, all those antioxidants is what protects all our body cells. So we're at risk from the pollution that we can't see around us, we're at risk from our diet, we're at risk from stress, all these things that are constantly bombarding our body. If you have a high antioxidant intake, and you get all of these from vegetables and fruits, these protect your body cells against cancers, against heart disease. So what we want to aim for is at least 5 bits of vegetables and fruits a day. But the new guidelines are coming out is that it should be towards 8 to 10. But that's a lot of. If you think just now, I'll have a banana and I maybe have some vegetables, and maybe 2 or 3 portions a day. What you want to now do is to try to bring that up to 5. Okay, and then if you're currently at 5 and think I could push this forward, head towards 8. Okay. 6 to 8 portions of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are your potatoes, your rice, your pasta, your rotis, your chapatis, your crackers, your cereals. So carbohydrates offer you fibre, they also offer you energy. So and recently they've been getting a really bad press. So carbohydrates have been getting a really bad press. Don't eat carbohydrates. It is important to have carbohydrates, but you want them in a whole grain form. So you want them in things like wholemeal flour, whole grain breads, wholemeal chapatis, brown rice. So you're wanting them to have, the more whole grain you have in them, the higher your fibre intake, and it protects you against bowel cancer. You also get the energy from these carbohydrates a lot slower. So carbohydrates are important. You just have to be careful about which ones you're using. So you really don't want to be eating things like cornflakes, white bread, lots of white flour. Obviously they're in cakes and biscuits and all these things. So we're looking for more of a kind of whole grain. Protein. So, sorry, I asked that question. Is everybody vegetarian, or does people still eat meat? Okay, eat meat. Oh, okay. All right, okay. I'm not taking that away from you. So. Meat, your chicken, your fish, eggs, it's just beef we don't eat?
Pork, not pork.
And pork, okay. So we can.
Beef is good.
Beef is good, just pork, okay. So our beef, our lamb, our fish, our chicken, our eggs, our shellfish. Yeah, shellfish. So that's where we get protein from. Protein's really important because after all this exercise you're going to be doing, you're going to be ripping your muscles apart and building them back up again. So what we're looking for is protein in the diet because it helps the body cell renewal. You don't have to go crazy. We're not looking for you to eat whole chickens and lots and lots of meat. It is important. It is really important. The other great thing that comes with protein is it increases satiety. So if you are eating as part of your meal, the protein part is going to make you feel fuller for longer. So if you were to sit down to a bowl of pasta and it just had sauce on it, you're going to still feel hungry afterwards because there's no protein in it. So you want to make sure that your breakfast, your lunch and your dinner has some sort of protein in it. So whether it's fish, eggs, beans, lentils and pulses are fantastic. Adding in handfuls of lentils and into all your the foods that you're making. Other good sources are breakfast would be to have things like natural yogurt, to have eggs. So we want to make sure that there's I'm going to come on to portion sizes, but we want to make sure that there's protein at breakfast, lunch and dinner. Fat. So fat is what we want to be careful of. So per gram of carbohydrate, per gram of protein, it gives you about 4 calories. Per gram of fat, it gives you 9. So that's where it's very easy to overeat it. So what we want to do is, first of all, to check the type of fat we're using. You want to make sure they're more monounsaturated fat, which is like rapeseed oil, olive oil. These are very cardiovascular protective. So we've already seen in the previous slide that heart disease tends to happen 10 years earlier in the South Asian population. So we want to be careful with the amount of fat that we're using. And a lot of you will use sunflower oil and vegetable oil. They're okay. They're kind of in the middle. They're okay. What they do is that they will help lower the danger dangerous fat in your blood, but it will not help raise the good fat in your blood. So where olive oil, the rapeseed oil, what it will do is it will lower the LDL cholesterol, which is the one that furs up all your arteries, but it will raise the HDL cholesterol, which helps break down all the furring up of the arteries. So vegetable oil is okay, but if we can get you using more of an olive oil or a rapeseed oil basis, that would be much more cardiovascular protective. Calories are all exactly the same, but you get more for your money with olive oils. Then you've got ghee, and then you've got butter. Now the thing about ghee and butter is that what it does is it lays down fatty deposits in all your arteries. So when you're born, you've got lovely big juicy arteries, all the blood can flow through it. As we age, what happens is fat begins to lay deposits on it. So these begin to get smaller, and what happens is that when the blood's going through, it's going through at a very, very high pressure, and that's what raises your blood pressure and puts your heart under risk as well. So where you can, it would be ideal to try to reduce the amount of ghee you use the amount of butter, clarified butter, all these types of things. They're the ones that fur up your arteries. It's also the fat on the meat. So if you're using chicken, you want to try to take the skin off it before you cook it. If you are using beef, you want to make sure it's as lean as you can get. So in the supermarket or your butcher, you want it to be steak mince that they're using, because it will have the lowest amount of fat. And also if you were browning it off, you would then try to drain the fat off. If you leave that to sit, you'll notice that it begins to go hard, and that's what happens in your arteries. So we want as much of that fat off of it. One, it's very high in calories. Two, it's not doing your cardiovascular system much good. The other thing we need to be very careful of is fluids. So fluids massively important with this training exercise that you're going to be doing, because you're going to be sweating. So we need to make sure we're putting the fluid back in. So what we want to do is try and make sure that you're having lots and lots of water. You're looking for about 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. And to be careful of things that are going to dehydrate you. So your teas, your coffees, energy drinks, fizzy juices, all these things are going to actually make you get rid of more fluid from your body, and you're going to become more dehydrated. So we're wanting you to perform here every week, week on week, getting stronger and fitter. And if your fluid intake is mostly of a caffeine-based fluid, you'll find that you'll be dehydrated. So you'll find that your performance will be affected every time you come. So you'll find that you maybe don't have as much energy. So it's not about energy, but just dehydration can make you fatigue quicker. So if you're doing a full hour in here and you've come in dehydrated and you're trying to top yourself up with water, you'll never get back into the place. So really what you want to do is make sure that the majority of your fluid is water based. So that can be like diluting juices, it can be fizzy water, it can be water itself. And if you think, well, I probably have about 4 cups of tea a day, or I have about 4 cups of coffee, to try to kind of reduce that down and make sure that you're replacing it with stuff that's rehydrating your body. That's what we're looking for. There is space for, obviously I'm not going to say nobody can ever eat cakes, biscuits or chocolate, because this is a real world we're all living in. What we don't want to be, these have to be seen as a treat, So when I was younger, on a Friday night, when I was a child, when I had a bath, I was allowed a piece of chocolate. So that was a treat, it was seen as a treat, but now these things are all over the place. They're in the supermarket when you're paying for your stuff, they're in the petrol station when you're putting in your petrol, so the food is there all the time. These things are absolutely fine. It's all about moderation. If you're eating more of these than you are of these, it's wrong. We've got the balance wrong. So we want to make sure that the majority of our food is coming from natural sources, and keeping these types of things, so chocolates, cakes, biscuits, right on cue, crisps. You have to share them now. So the chocolates, cakes, biscuits, sweet treats, all these things are okay, but they have to be seen as a treat, and because they don't offer you what your body needs. Your body needs antioxidants, it needs protein, it needs good carbohydrates, but these all these things offer you is fat and sugar, so it doesn't offer you a good source of nutrition, and that's what we're trying to do, is trying to get you as nourished as possible. So this is really giving you an idea of what portions should be. So when you're having your rice, it should be the size of your knuckles. That is a portion. What's that?
Probably more than that when you're tasting the.
Of course you are. So this is what we're looking at when you've got your plate. So that's the other thing, is that I've noticed when I've went to my friends who are from South Asian background, is that it all comes out onto the table, and it's like, and if you're not eating, it's like, what's wrong with you? You know, do you not like it? People are offended because you've not eaten enough. So that's what we have to be careful for, is that, because it is all put on the table, and is you being able to control your portion of what. So bearing in mind, so a portion of that is one portion. We're talking about, you should have about 6 portions a day. So you would maybe have 2 of those at your main meal. And the protein is what would fit in the palm of your hand. So that would be your chicken, your beef, your lamb, your fish. Okay, but then we're going to have all this rainbow of colours of vegetables. So we're going to have you making all these beautiful salads and vegetable curries to get all your antioxidants in. So and then when we look at the fat, that is how much fat should be in your meal, just the tip of your thumb. Whereas you would cut a bit of ghee that was yon size and stick it in, because historically with South Asian population is that in Pakistan oil was really, really hard to come by. It was really, really expensive. It was like gold. So what then happened is when people came to this country and it was freely available, it shows your wealth if you have lots and lots of fat and things. But it's you now taking back control of, this is just furring up my arteries and making me more likely to have heart disease. So you do need a little bit because fat is a flavour carrier, so things taste nice. When you put that bit of chocolate in your mouth and it starts to melt, that's a fat melting, and that's where you get all those aromatics. So it is important for taste, but it's all about portion sizes and how much you're using of it. So if you were to put in a tablespoonful of oil to start off your onions and garlic and whatever in what you were making, that tablespoonful will give you 100 calories. And so you think about how many tablespoonfuls you would add in. So you could put in 5. So before you've even put anything else into that pot, you've got 500 calories. So yeah. you're just laughing.
The bottom of the pot.
I know, it's that.
And it's about that bit.
Yes.
So
no. But how you would, so this is how you sweat your onions off, is that you put your oil into a spray gun. Like something you would spray the plants with. You spray that over. You also put in a little bit of water. And what will happen is you give the onions some time to break themselves down. So a little bit of water and a little bit of oil, you will still get the softness, but you just don't need to have that full layer. Okay, so that's very difficult because culturally everybody expects it to, and so that's the hard part. But that is what we're looking for. We're looking for you to look at portion sizes. Yes, so that's to bear in mind when you look at your plate tonight. When you've served it up, is it portion size? Is your portion size right? The biggest part on your plate has to be vegetables. The next biggest part would be your protein, and the next biggest part would be your carbohydrates. The other secret, there is a secret, the other secret is how you eat your food. Now, historically in my house, everybody, it's as if the house is on fire and they have to eat it as quickly as possible. So it's head down, eating as quickly as they can. But what we actually have to get people to do is to slow down the eating. So you take a small mouthful, a very small mouthful, and you have to chew what is in your mouth 20 times before you actually swallow it. Because what we're doing is we're just shoving in, and what happens is we're waiting on our stomach telling us we're full rather than our jaw giving off chemicals telling us it's full. So if you chew your food, what happens is that chemicals are released from your jaw to tell your brain that you've eaten enough. Also, your taste buds get fed up with it. They get a bit of taste apathy because they've been eating the same thing for so long. Your taste buds kick in, they go, right, I'm bored of this, stop eating this. So we're looking for other things to kick in so that you feel full and not waiting on your stomach telling you that you're feeling full. So you have to slow down your eating, you have to chew your food. This is what my gran used to tell me when I was small as well. So you have to slow down your eating, you need to chew your food and put your knife and fork down between every mouthful. Okay, so I want you to practice that tonight and see how that feels. Okay, because now your plate's going to look a lot smaller. Keeping a record of what you're doing. So it's really important in studies that have studies when they've looked at people who have successfully lost weight, is that the more people have lost weight if they've been accountable for what they've been eating. Don't worry, I'm going to send you all these slides so you can get all these slides. So you want to keep track of what you've eaten, because if you can't remember if you've had a chocolate biscuit today and you're having another one, so what we want to do is for you to keep account of what you're eating, to be accountable for everything that goes into your mouth. It helps you attain your goals. And also, if you're about to eat this chocolate biscuit, why am I eating this chocolate biscuit? Am I actually hungry? Am I bored? Am I upset? Why am I eating this? So it helps you reason why you're about to eat. It makes you accountable. The really good apps are MyFitnessPal. I don't know if anybody's used MyFitnessPal. Yeah, MyFitnessPal's great. The other one is another one called Lose It. These are all free. Apple Health, so on your phone, you might not have seen it, but there'll be a wee icon that's got a heart in it, which is Apple Health. It's free as well, so you can record your fluid intake there. If you think your fluid intake's a problem, you can also record your food intake. If you don't want to do that, you just want to do a bit of paper or a bit in your diary just to remind you, so everything you go to eat, you have to be accountable for, and by keeping a record of it, it helps with that as well. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to set ourselves goals. So you want to make them smart, so you want to make them specific. So you want it to be an actual defined goal. I am going to eat less, I'm going to eat less rice at my meals. You know, how am I going to do that? I'm going to measure out what I'm going to have rather than, I'm going to measure out in the kitchen what I'm going to have rather than helping at the table. How achievable is this? So realistically, how am I actually going to do this? Is this going to happen? And you know, and over what sort of time? So that it's really what you want to do is you don't want to set a goal that is totally unachievable. So you don't want to set a goal like by tomorrow I want to lose 2 stone. You know, that is not achievable. You want to set yourself small achievable goals. So you look at how you behave. So a bit like the lady that came in earlier on. Was it Audrey? Was that her name? Elaine. Audrey. When Elaine came in, and so she was saying, you know, she wants you to do exercise at home for 30 minutes 3 times a week. Right, okay, that's what I would like to do. How am I going to do that? So, you know, I've got the school run, they've got their homework, they do this and that, because, you know, at the end of the day, it always comes down to what we're doing with our kids. You know, how am I going to fit this in? How am I going to... It's just, you want to make sure that your goal is specific, that you can measure that it's happening, that's easily achieved, it's relevant to what you're doing, and you're going to be able to do it within a time. So, you know, your time basis will be the next 8 weeks. Why I haven't given you an actual diet plan to follow is because dieting and diet plans don't actually work. What you want to do is to look at how you're behaving just now and to make small achievable changes that are going to stick for the rest of your life, because there's no point, we can all go on a crazy, you know, 3-month diet, but then you have to go back to doing what you were doing before. So it's just looking at what are you doing just now, and what small things could you do? Could you look at your portion sizes? Could you reduce the amount of fat you're using? Could you make sure that you try to do this 3 times a week? So all these small goals will get you to your goal, and really what you want to look at is where you are next year. So this time next year, you know, how different am I? So it's kind of trying to be patient. So yes, you want to make sure that your goals are specific and measurable and easy to follow. Okay, so what we've got to look at is hunger. So I don't know if any of us ever feel hunger anymore. you know. So it is looking at when you're going to eat something, why are you eating it? Are you eating it because somebody's upset you, that you're mad at something, that you are tired, that you are peeved off? You know, what has made you want to eat this? So you're just going to eat something instead. So you have to look at, if you're eating out with of your meals, so your breakfast, lunch and dinner, if you're eating out with of it, why are you eating? Why are you eating? Do you feel hungry? So what I want you to do is think about hunger score. So hunger score of 10 is that total belly rumbling pain of, I'm hungry. I really am hungry. And 0 is I'm fine. So if all of a sudden you've had something to eat at 12 o'clock and about 3 o'clock all of a sudden you're thinking, I think I'm hungry. So you actually have to measure it. Is my stomach rumbling? You know, do I feel that I can't carry on what I'm doing without having something to eat? Am I actually thirsty? So lots of time we get mixed up between thirst and hunger, because dehydration can trick you that you actually need something. Instead of having something to drink, you actually have something to eat instead. So I want you to think about, if you're having a 5, if you think, I'm a kind of 5, what to do is I want you to have a nice drink of water, do something for 10 minutes and measure it again. Am I still hungry? Or is it just because an advert came on the television and you thought, oh, I could go one of those, you know, that type of thing. So we want to address emotional eating. So are you hungry, or are you just, again, looking at your fluid intake and listening to your body? It's okay to be hungry. You know, it's okay to have a wee bit of tummy rumble. That's fine. If you know that your meal's going to be in the next half hour to an hour, doesn't mean you have to put something in. If you can distract yourself, have a glass of water, it will pass. The other thing about chewing your food, that is really important. That will make you feel fuller for longer. And the food on the table as well. So it is, you will automatically eat more if there is food lying out on the table. So these are questions people posted, and so I thought I would try and answer them. So somebody asked, what food to eat before and after exercise? How much time before the boot camp should I eat? So this depends on how much you're exercising. So if you are training here and then you decide at 6 o'clock I'm going to go for a run as well, we need to make sure that you're eating something immediately post training. If you are just coming here on a Saturday and it's at 2:30, you've had something at 12 o'clock, you've come and done the training, you know, it would be fine to your next meal would be enough nourishment. But if you are planning to do the boot camp and then do something else, it's really important then, if you're doing 2 lots of exercises in one day, if you really get the bug and we're going for it, it's important the hour after you've trained to maybe have something like a banana, a couple of oat cakes and peanut butter, or a yogurt or something like that, to try and put the energy back in if you're going to be training twice in a day. But if you're just going to be doing an hour's exercise in this class a week, plus all your other activities, you don't actually need anything specific post-training other than what you're going to eat at your next meal. The main thing is about keeping up your hydration is really important. What I would say is, if you're coming to the 2 o'clock class, my advice would be is the last thing to have is probably around about 12 o'clock. You don't want stuff jiggling about in your stomach when you're doing star jumps. There's nothing worse. You kind of get that kind of horrible feeling of, I think I'm going to be sick. So, and that's just because all your blood is trying to get to your muscles to help you do all this exercise, whereas you've got all this stuff in your stomach that still wants to be digested. So really, you don't want to eat any nearer than 2 hours before you're going to exercise. And what you want to do is, if you're going to have something to eat before you come, you want something to have a little bit of carbohydrate and a little bit of protein in it as well. So that would look like a sandwich or a small amount of curry with a chapati or something like that. So, but you also have to remember, if something is really, really fatty, it takes ages to be digested. So although it may have been 2 hours, it might still be in your system trying to be digested as well. So you maybe want something light 2 hours before, which is something like a a sandwich, a pita bread, a bagel with some sort of filling would be fine. What to eat post-workout, again, it depends on how hard you've worked. I would tend to say if you're working for 2 hours, we'd need to get you to have a really good snack before your next meal. But if you're really just going to be doing this 1 hour of boot camp, hydration's the most important thing. You don't need Lucozade Sport or anything like that, so you don't need all these sports drinks. Water will be absolutely fine. If it's okay, if you're going to work out that day, it's important to have a snack. So as I've said, the main thing is about fluid. Low carb, high protein. So it's important to have protein in your diet, because I said already, it increases satiety, it makes you feel fuller for longer, helps reduce the amount of insulin's release and insulin resistance. So protein doesn't need any insulin released from your body for it to be taken up as an energy source, but carbohydrates do. So if the biggest part of your meal is carbohydrate based, you're going to be releasing lots and lots of insulin. And what eventually happens is your body goes, I don't need all this insulin, and in fact I'm just going to ignore it. So then it starts to ignore it, but then it produces more and more. So that's when you become insulin resistant. So that's kind of pre-diabetes. So you do want the main part of your meal to be vegetables, you want good amount of protein, and you want to be careful with the amount of carbohydrates, chapatis, rice that you're eating. Especially if you look at your genetic pool and you've got uncles and aunties and mums and dads who have all gone on to develop diabetes, it's really important to be aware of becoming insulin resistant. Is there any food to speed up your metabolism? If only there was a food to speed up your metabolism. So I have people that come to me and go, say, I drink lemon and water first thing in the morning because that burns fat. It's all a lie. It's a lie. So there's nothing. But what you're doing at this boot camp is going to speed up your metabolism, because you're going to be building up these muscle tissues, these muscle tissues, these muscle tissues, and the more muscle you have, the more that when you're sitting down, your body's using more energy. So if you had a pound of body fat and a pound of muscle, that pound of muscle is using calories just to kind of keep itself going, whereas that pound of fat is doing nothing. So the best way for your body to become metabolically active is to give it all at that boot camp, because what we're wanting is muscle tissue. So the more it will make you more metabolically active at rest. So somebody said, I feel unwell after a large carbs meal, why? And it's really just, it can be because that person could be at risk of becoming diabetic, and it's just all that carbohydrate and all that insulin being released. Also, some people have things like IBS or a little bit of a dodgy stomach. So if you have lots and lots of fibre, some people can get it can feel a little bit heavy on their system as well. Foods to help me sleep. So somebody had asked, is there anything that I could eat to help me sleep? There is foods that have got tryptophan in it. So tryptophan is an amino acid, and it seems to be linked with better sleep. So that's things like chicken and turkey and milk and seeds and nuts, bananas. These seem to have a higher tryptophan. So if you're having problems with sleeping, the advice would be to have that. The other thing is to try to de-stress yourself before you go to bed. So keep your phone away, keep it in the other room, or make sure it's away from you. Try to read a book to try to unwind yourself before you go to sleep, rather than reading your phone. If you find that traditionally you eat very late at night because your partner, your husband is working and they're coming home 8, 9 o'clock, and you're starting to eat your main meal, then that may affect your sleep as well, because it's a lot of food to be digested so late at night. So maybe it might be for you to have your main meal earlier on and have something light later if you're finding that that's a problem. And if you're doing lots of exercise just before you go to bed, you might find that there's problems with sleep as well. But doing your exercise earlier on in the day. Also, if you're not sleeping, being more active and exercising will help with your sleep. You know, your body will feel tired for sleep as well. Somebody was looking for breakfast ideas. The best advice would be, if you're going to use any breakfast cereal, you're looking for something that's high in fibre. So Weetabix, Oatabix, porridge is fantastic. Things like all bran, muesli. You just have to be careful with the sugar content of muesli. Look for a no added sugar muesli because they put in milk powder into it, which makes it sweeter. Oh, I'm missing a slide. It'll be in the thing I send you. Why am I missing a slide? There should be a slide on looking at. Oh, no, it's missing. Gosh, I did that last night. So it's about reading food labels. So what to look at when you're reading. Is it on the sheet? Is it in the back? Okay. Let me have a wee look at that. Yeah. So if you're buying things from the supermarket, so traditionally everybody was influenced by what your parents were eating, so you would make what your parents were eating. Whereas now lots of people are influenced by what their children are wanting to eat. So people are wanting to eat things that are, ready-made meals, spaghetti bolognese, things that are quick and easy. So what you have to be very careful is looking at the label. And so now that you get this kind of traffic light system on the front of a packet, what you're looking for is the majority of them to be green. So if they've got a higher green amount, it just means that they're lower in fats, they're lower in sugar, they're lower in energy. So you're looking for more greens. In the stuff that I'll send you, it breaks it down for other labels. So if it didn't have that and you were to turn it to the back of the label, what you want to start to look at is per 100 grams. And what you want to look at is if it has 20 grams of fat, it's far too much. So you're looking for it to be below 20 grams of fat and heading towards 3 grams of fat. That means that it's not high in fat. Saturated fat, if it's 5 grams of saturated fat, now remember that's the fat that furs up your arteries, it's too high. You want it to be more towards 1.5 grams. Then you looking at salt. So salt also raises blood pressure. And again, blood pressure if your blood pressure is high, it's putting your heart under risk, and so you're more likely to go on to develop heart disease. So salt, you're looking for it to be, now you've got to be careful with salt because you're looking for, it might say salt, but it might say sodium on it. So sodium's another name for salt, but it's a different measurement. So a day you're looking for a maximum of 6 grams of salt. And a day you're looking for a maximum of 2.5 grams of sodium. So there is a little bit of difference when you're reading a label, but you're looking for it to be lower than lower than a 1 gram of salt and nearer to 0.3 grams of salt per 100 grams. So it may say per portion, but you're looking at it per 100 grams. That'll give you a better reading. But when I send the stuff out, that slide will be in. I was working on it last night and I added it in, but I don't know what I've done. It's not on. So yeah, so so if you're picking up a spaghetti bolognese that your children were wanting to eat, or you're picking up potato waffles that they wanted, again, you just need to check that if it's got the traffic light system, you're looking for more green, maybe an amber, but definitely less red. So it make you check packets as well. So breakfast ideas, so going off. So breakfast ideas, porridge, whole grain cereals, eggs, beans, natural yogurts, nuts. Nuts are fantastic. Again, they offer you lots of really good fats. You just have to be careful again of your portion size because they have got a lot of energy in them. Again, there's a fashion for eating lots of avocado. Avocado is fantastic, but again, it's very, very high in natural fats. So just be careful with some of these healthy foods. Again, you just have to look at the portion size. Should I eat 3 meals a day or 6 small meals? It really doesn't matter. It's really about your total calorie intake. So if you're following MyFitnessPal, if you put all your stuff into it, it'll say you should have 1,400 calories a day, and then you add in what you're eating every day and it counts it down. It tells you how many calories you've got left. It doesn't matter if you eat them over 6 small meals or you have them over 3 slightly larger meals. It really doesn't matter. Whatever fits in best with your lifestyle. Somebody says that they're sensitive to gluten, so quite a lot of people are finding they can't tolerate gluten. So gluten's a protein that is found in wheat, rye, barley, and so it's found in the wheat and chapatis, it's found in pastas, it's found in cakes and biscuits and all these types of things. So if you find that you're sensitive to gluten, if it upsets your stomach, it makes you feel bloated, uncomfortable, and you're wanting to cut it out, other good sources are rice is completely gluten-free. rice noodles, buckwheat, quinoa, polenta. These are all other grains that can be used instead. So healthier options for what is desi food, so traditional food, yeah. So really, traditional food can be really, really healthy. Lots of lentils, chickpeas, pulses in it. It really is that layer of fat is what is the problem. And you just want to make sure that your meat is lean, your chicken has the skin taken off of it, that it is packed full of vegetables, and it's your portion size. The things you need to be careful of are things like rice and chapatis and rotis are better. Things like puris and naans are higher because they tend to be cooked in butter. They tend to be have extra butter added to them. So that's what you have to be aware of, is all that extra fat that you're using. So somebody says they feel tired all the time, so I was looking at dietary iron. So as women we can have lower iron levels, so it's making sure that you have lentils and pulses, you have red meat in the form of lamb and beef, that you have vitamin C at a meal, so chopped tomatoes, potatoes, carrots, things that have vitamin C in it, or a small glass of orange juice or tomato juice or something with a meal. If it's not iron related, it could be that you're dehydrated or just not drinking enough. The other reason is that you might not be eating very regularly. You might be having something at 10, and then you're not really eating all day until the rest of the family come home and not eating at 8. And maybe through the day you're picking and stuff, but it's of poor quality, so it's snacky type foods. Another way to combat tiredness is actually to get yourself moving. You're going to feel brighter. All those endorphins are going to be released. You're going to feel so much better. Somebody else asked about migraines. So there can be triggers. So it can be light, it can be diet, it can be caffeine, it can be hunger that trigger people into migraines. But the main thing again is making sure that you're hydrated and that you're avoiding any triggers that you know of. These are really good links that you can go on. So if you were looking for, somebody did say they were looking for a meal plan, there are meal plans on these. You can't see it, but I'll send you it's the NHS Choice. They do a 12-week programme, and they've got advice every week on what you should be doing. So they're all free, they're all on the internet, and it'll give you a kind of idea if you were looking for a specific diet plan as such. But my advice would be is that you keep with the diet that you like to eat just now, but you just make all those wee small changes that's going to make the massive difference. Okay, so I'm expecting questions. Okay?
I want to know about corn oil, pure corn oil for cooking.
Yes.
Is that okay?
It's okay. So corn oil and vegetable oil and sunflower oil are all exactly the same. It's not as good as olive oil. The thing about olive oil is it burns. It burns at a very high temperature. That's the problem with rapeseed oil and olive oil. So if you want to continue using corn oil or vegetable oil or sunflower oil, you want to use less. Okay, so that would be my advice.
And
Okay. No, carry on. No. Okay.
the frozen food.
Yes, fruit.
Frozen food.
Food. Okay, frozen food.
Food and canned food.
Yes.
The vegetable in
Yes, okay, yeah, they're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah. So if you were to use frozen peas and corn and cauliflower, absolutely fine. What you want to do is to try to cook it in just a little bit of water, because if you boil it in a full pan of water, you lose all the vitamins from it. Vitamin C is very easily destroyed in cooking. So what you want to do is to try to cook it and even steam it in just a small amount of water with a lid on it, and it'll cook better. It'll keep the vitamins.
And one more.
Okay, one more. Go on.
See, craving on the night time.
Yes. Sugar craving.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sweet something.
Okay. So you find that in the evening you really want to eat.
After like 9, 10.
Okay. So after 9, 10 o'clock, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. You're all right. Yes.
Just now I'm avoiding butter.
Yes.
Having that, I'm having tea.
Chai tea or just normal tea?
Just normal tea.
Just normal tea. So in an evening, to try to stop you feeling like you wanted something sweet, you're having a normal tea and it's working.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, lots of people do find about 9 o'clock they've just relaxed, the kids have gone to bed, you finally sat down, so you want to eat something. Okay, yeah. So having something like your tea is great. Having something like a sugar-free jelly, if you just wanted. No. Yeah, no. You can eat jelly. You eat jelly. Yeah. So you could, or you could have a piece of fruit. So you could have some chopped up. You could have some blueberries and some strawberries, a bit of melon, a bit of natural yogurt in it as well, to just kind of give you a bit of protein.
I want to know about fruit. Have 1 or 2 fruit in the
Yeah, if you're wanting that is much better than having a couple of biscuits.
Oh.
Yeah, so having some fruit in the evening would be better because it's going to give you all those lovely antioxidants. It's going to give you those fibre, but it's not going to give you as much calories and empty as the biscuits. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
You said about tea.
Yes.
How about green tea? Is that okay?
Green tea's fine, although it still has caffeine in it. So you'd be red bush tea is decaf tea, if that's yeah. Yeah, it's high in antioxidants. Yeah.
Is dark chocolate a good alternative to
normal chocolate? Yeah. Dark chocolate is better. It has less fat in it and has more cacao in it. But again, it's a quantity. Yeah.
So like 1 square cup of tea?
Yes, if you wanted that. It's probably about 50 calories, 1 square. You went like that, 1 square? 1 square! 1 square would be fine. And that's the thing is to savour it, and absolutely. And you tend to get fed up with it because the studies to show that that it's a combination of 50% fat and 50% sugar, which makes you eat more of it. So those Krispy Kreme donuts, the plain ones, are highly addictive. You could eat yourself to death in them because it's the combination 50 sugar, 50 fat. But whereas if you reduce one of those, so the Krispy Kreme that has the kind of fondant in the middle, you can't eat as much as you could of the plain ones because it's too much sugar, too much fat. So with the dark chocolate, it's again higher cocoa, the sugar part compared to the fat part. So again, you find you can't just eat just as much. But yeah, but it still has the same amount of calories. So you just have to be careful. Yeah. Chips. I love chips.
About olive oil.
Yes.
It's not. Somebody was saying to me that you can't cook. You need to have a specific olive oil for cooking.
Yes. So you don't want extra virgin olive oil for cooking. Extra virgin olive oil is what you'd maybe put on a salad. It would just burn. So it would just have to be olive oil. So don't use the expensive because they are more for just eating raw.
Some of the olive oils now say on it.
It will say. So you want just olive oil, but not extra virgin olive oil because it goes a kind of rancid taste. It just burns. Yeah. So you're saying about chips. So chips. Love chips. So what you want to do is probably if you're going to, is to make them yourself, okay? But what you want to do is to get something like a sweet potato or a potato itself. You want to part cook it in the microwave, 5 minutes in the microwave. You want to bring it out and you want to wedge it, and then you want to spray it in a wee bit of oil and roast them in the oven. You'll still get the chip, but you'll not have all the fat. So although the McCain chips that you would buy, even if they're oven, when you look at them, they're all covered in white, and that's just all the fat they're covered on to make them cook. So you really want to try to make your own chip, and that's how I do them. Is I just part cook a baked potato, cut it into wedges, use some oil and spray on it, put some herbs or something, and then roast them in the oven. And they don't take much time at all. So you can still get that chip and crispy. Yeah, like wedges. Yeah.
At the gym go. So I just want to say thanks to Leslie and Aileen. If you have any more questions, just ask Shakra, Rahila, Amber and Zarina. That's all.